Okay, we are live. Welcome everyone back to another one of our weekly discussions of the Sunday service. And as always, I'm going to start with a quick on the spot improvised introduction to, or just like, kind of talking a bit about the Sunday service before we dive right in and pick it a bit apart and get deeper with everything. But, I think just overall, I do want to say that I just, I loved how this week, it's like, it kind of took me, I mean, that kind of happens every week. Like the topic Jeff and Cher talk about always like take me by surprise in a very positive way. And then every time I watch, it's like, I'm so surprised how like, it's like perfect for exactly what like I need to hear in that moment, which obviously, happens with all of Jeff and Shalia's work. But it's just so nice, to go into all these topics that you didn't, like sometimes when I watch a TFAS class, it's like I didn't even know I desired to know this, or like I didn't even know there was this like topic theme to know something about, and then they just open up this like treasure chest and talk about that, and kind of it feels like they're opening up this entire new area in my life. And I had that experience too with like with the Sunday service, where I was like, oh, like that's something I haven't actively been thinking for a very long time about, like, how like, with this coronavirus, obviously we're all experiencing, I mean, honestly, my lifestyle was a lot of isolation, kind of what Shalia described, but still it has become a bit more isolation than it used to be before the coronavirus, because I still used to go out, go to university, like just go out more than I do now. And whatever your lifestyle was before, definitely, had at least minor changes for all of us in some ways. But it's like this like topic of isolation and how to live your life and be in flow with God, which is really what what a big theme for me that I learned from the Sunday service. It's like just such a juicy topic to go deeper in, especially at this time. And just to realize that, you can always be in a flow with God. And that's what life, is about. So yeah. I'm trying to think what like the first like, point is that we can jump into. So the first thing that, is coming up for me is like kind of what Shalia described, how her like day-to-day, like regular day looks like. And I really resonated with that part where she said, like, on the outside, it kind of looks like she's not doing anything. And I had that so many times in my life where I was like, what did I just do today? I felt like I don't know, like the day just flew by and I feel like I actually didn't do anything. And like when she said that, like, oh no, actually she was doing, she was processing, and internally a lot was happening, and she was actually being active in just being. That brought a lot of relief to me, where I just like realized like I'm actually not just like sitting around and not doing anything. I'm constantly processing, healing, actually doing the mirror exercise, just like by being and being present with God. And that is being active. That is actually you doing something. So that for me, that was like a really big realization that came with watching the Sunday service.
Yeah, I know. I really enjoyed this too, because really knowing that you can just be in the state and go with the flow, and just know that yes, it's actually like so much work to do that, and you shouldn't be ashamed of like the way you're made of, like the way, because like looking at the way Jeff and Shalia work, like Shalia does most of the inner work,
Mm-hmm.
Jeff does most of the outer work. And if you're the one that is basically the inner, it's safe for you to just accept that you have to do that, and you don't have to go in other areas. And I know this is something that me and Alexandra were working a bit to understand better how our union works. And
Mm-hmm.
uh, it was funny that I was having some things like, oh no, I have to do this thing or that thing, kind of outer thing. Because I know in our union, it seems like I'm doing more of the inner work and she's doing more of the outer work right now. That's how it looks. And in this way, it's kind of interesting when I'm trying to do something outer, it feels a bit like bad, and I'm like, I'm not doing good. But then I just have to surrender. Let Alexandra do it. She does it in less time, much better. Everything is more perfect. And actually then when I accept that, I feel better, she feels better, and everything is better. So this helps as well, if like you're in union or harmonious union, will help you to just find your flow with your partner as well.
Mhm.
And if you're just by yourself, like it helps you to know how to just be with yourself and how to create that flow just between you and God. And when it is with your twin flame, it will be. So yeah.
I love that you bring that up, because that's actually something I've been thinking a lot too while watching the service and afterwards. Because like from like how Jeff and Shah talk, it goes really clear. I mean, Shalia even said like, Jeff is usually one who does more of the outer stuff, and I'm very inner and take care of like our inner work. And I was like really thinking like about like, I guess kind of, it really goes down to like finding out who you are and what your role in your union is, just as you said. And that is definitely, something that requires exploration, especially if you're not with your twin flame. And, it's like, because I've been, I've always been feeling like I really enjoy doing the inner work. And that's like a place where I don't have, it's like easy for me to just like sit around all day and do inner work, like no huge resistance there. But as soon as I have to do a lot of outer activity and just like physical things, that's like where I'm like, oh my god, I don't know, I that's the part where I'm like struggling with. And like for me, it's kind of like right now I've been kind of like with what like the sermon, like going deeper into figuring out, is that just because I have blogs, or is that really like the role I meant to have in my union, or is that something, is that something where I need to bring more balance? And kind of just like figuring out like how am I meant to function in my everyday life, just like as me, and then also what is my role in like my union, and how am I meant to function, and where do I have like where do I have blocks, and just experience something that maybe I'm actually not, maybe I'm not actually designed to be that, maybe I actually am meant to be the one who does a lot of external things. And I think with that too, I had this like conception that the divine feminine is meant to be the one who does the inner work, and the divine masculine the one who does all the external things. So that's also something that I'm like healing and releasing, and just like giving it to God, and trusting that like there's no stereotype of like who of the both polarities has to do what. Like it's really very unique to every union.
I was looking for the book, but it seems like it's in. I think Alexandra has it right now, but I really like the definition in the book in Finding Your Ultimate Lover, how they speak about divine masculine and divine feminine, because in a way in there it kind of already says that the masculine gives from within.
Oh, wait, I have the book on my desk.
I don't remember exactly the page for that, but it's basically when they speak about the polarities with masculinity and femininity.
Let me see if I can
Divine
find
feminine
that.
and divine masculine. But in that time, until you find that, like, oh, Alexandra heard me. Seems like, what page was that, Alexandra?
I don't know.
Alexandra is so funny. Love her so much. It's yeah. I'm still gonna look for that, because I don't know what page is that yet. Probably there are people screaming in the chat, "Hey, that page or that page."
Let me have a look. No, no one's screaming in the chat.
Oh, good. So now let's do the exercise that Jeff and Shreya said about like taking time and just being with ourselves while me and Denise are checking the book.
The only thing I can find is like the first page of chapter 9, when they start talking about divine feminine and divine masculine complements. And it says, the masculine energy is a giving, entering energy. It expresses into the feminine from within himself. He desires to express himself lovingly into all he places his attention upon. The masculine is a beautiful complement to the feminine.
Yeah, that's the one.
So yeah, the giving, entering energy, it expresses into the feminine from within himself. I never read that so carefully, like that part, like from within himself. That is really juicy.
Yeah. So you see, this book is still like amazing every time you read it, recommend it all the time, because you're gonna find stuff that when you read it the first time, you don't see them, you don't understand them, but then you go again through it and you see so many other things. So yeah, basically that's something to really show that it will look different and it's okay. Doesn't matter how it looks, it matters how it feels.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
like recently, I also was open to that page and I read that exact definition again. And that's the part that stuck to me about the within. And I loved how Shilia's like, you know, how does it look like in the external? And she's just like I'm just sitting and it looks like she's doing nothing, but to know that it made me feel very accepted that no, that is still a lot of work that is very important, and it's a very important part of her union. And she's like, that's the place where she experiences how powerful her piece is. And it like that sentence, uh, like that meant so much. Like that's all she ever needed to do was just to be in that place. That it's so powerful for her that she wouldn't even want to leave that. So it really comforted me that yes, you are also doing God's job, in that space.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, real quick, Shilia just joined us and is saying, hey.
Oh,
Hello.
hey.
Hello.
Hello.
We were just speaking about you, as always. Well,
Go ahead with what you were going to say, Lau.
I think it doesn't matter what I wanted to speak before because it totally went away.
Oh.
But I just wanted to say about the solitude and how how interesting actually it is to be in solitude, because I believe before coming to this work and even a bit pre coming to Inflame Ascension School and coming to Inflame Universe, coming to this work, I started a bit being like that with Alexandra, but I never knew it was okay to be in solitude that much. And I know me and Alexandra were like, no, it's not okay. We're not going out. Like, we're not doing stuff. We're wasting our life because we're just sitting in home. and it's interesting now to get even a deeper understanding of that thing. Like, no, it's actually like we were investing in ourselves by doing that, by not just doing stuff that didn't even matter for us that much. We thought it mattered because that's how the people say around me, or like that's how the society says maybe. But that's not something that you have to follow. You have to follow God here. And what I really enjoyed from what Shalia said was that when you feel heavy, that's when you shift the activity. My habit, I have to acknowledge here, my habit was like, I feel heavy, that means I have to hear something so I can do that more. and when Shelia said that, oh my God, like when I feel heavy, I just have to change it and it will feel good. And I'm like, okay, now I get it. Now I understand it more, because I know I had this perception before that if I'm feeling heavy, I have to hear that and keep doing that thing instead of like just shifting that. And it's so much easier now to do that and to feel that and to just go from activity to activity, to just draw from that unlimited source of energy from God in this way. Because if we look a bit more logically, what is happening is that God is guiding you to do this, you're doing this, and then God is saying like, hey, do this, and you're like, no, but I want to do this, the thing that I did so far. Therefore, like, God doesn't provide energy for that thing to do anymore, and that's why it will drain you, because you will use your own energy in order to do that, rather than just following God where He guides you, where He gives you energy to put, to just do something there. So I know from this point it makes total sense why, like, You just have to change to God's way, God's flow for you, rather than keep following what you think you have to do.
Mm-hmm. I love that you bring that up, because that was also, you know, like after service, I honestly looked at this pattern too, and I had a pattern. I think there's like, you know, different things that came together, but I was generally like, I wasn't listening within to see what I have to do. I was rather like in my mind trying to figure out what I have to do and forcing myself into doing all these things. And basically what happened was like, I always had like huge resistance to doing these things I thought I had to do. So I actually never ended up doing anything instead of just actually listening within what actually does feel good to do, which would be the thing I actually probably don't have resistance to in that moment, and just like do that. So kind of, and I ended up drained, unproductive, not doing anything, and kind of just like being like, what is going on with my life? You know, the last couple of weeks ago, I don't know, that was like the big contrast I experienced. And you know, after watching the service, I really was like, oh my God, this is what I've been doing. And like since yesterday, I really started just feeling within and just, you know, focusing on peace and just feeling like, where's that peace guiding me to go? And you know, it's like I found out I've become like, I don't know, just within a day so much more productive. I get stuff done. It always feels good, and it's kind of like everything I do really energizes me. And you know, like I couldn't go, like I couldn't go to fall asleep tonight because I just did stuff like the entire day. I was like, I have so much energy. How am I meant to sleep? I slept for like 5 hours or so, and I woke up and was like, oh my God, I still have energy. Like this is nice. And you know, it also kind of surprised me how like this kind of like changing activity and just really being in this flow. You know, like at first, and I'm still obviously working on this because, you know, I've been doing this for 24 hours or so now. But you know, it's like I catch myself how it's like, you know, I do this thing and then this like heaviness that Julia explained like comes in, and I realize, okay, it's time to, God is guiding me somewhere else. And like a part of me is like, you know, still trying to kind of like control or be like, no, I can't change to this thing, or like I meant to do something else. Like this doesn't make sense. Why would God guide me to do that? Because this other thing is more for priority, and it makes more sense to do that first and everything. And then, you know, it's like every time I'm like, okay, I choose to just trust God and just stay in this flow with God and go wherever God points me to. And you know, like I actually found out, okay, actually that does make sense, and I actually feel good, and then actually I have energy to do the other thing too afterwards, so like, you know, another day or whatnot. But you know, like for me, I guess it's really at the core about like, you know, letting go of control, like controlling how I like, not doing it my way, but doing it God's way when it comes to, you know, like my everyday life, like small activities, even like when do I eat, how does my schedule look like, when do I go to bed, and really trusting God in all these like seemingly small areas. But it's like, I mean, not small because you know, nothing is small, and we want to be with God always. But yeah, at the core, that's what it really is, always being present with God. And that's where your energy comes from, always being present with yourself, which is one and the same. And also, you know, one thing that we're collectively healing a lot right now, like connecting with God and you know, like claiming him as our source of energy and not using our own energy anymore.
Yeah. Like for me, when Shalia said that, it made me feel like every time I felt that feeling of heaviness after doing one activity, I felt like, oh, it's a wrong thing for me to be doing that activity. Just because I spent time doing that and it started feeling heavy, I would start saying that, oh no, I shouldn't have done that activity. But uh, like after this sermon was, it's like, oh, like I just needed to flow into the next one. So I don't feel like, oh, I just drained it all away. But in fact, it was just like a flow, like how she says that it's the flow of the process. And that's when it felt like, okay, I do have life force to, continue throughout the day. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, and
And
go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, something I loved is she said, I love being in this healing time. Like I always live in this healing time within me. And it felt very soothing to know that it is a healing time, that that's time spent within you in solitude is healing itself, and it's not, like Jeff said, like it's not wasting your time. You're not wasting it away, or and then he talked about like how there needs to be purpose for your isolation. You can't just randomly have it aimless.
Mm.
And yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the tips. Like
Tips.
have a greater purpose for the isolation. Maybe it will be good for us to go through all of them and just speak about them
Mm-hmm.
because they're all very, very good. And like the first one, to make sure that everything is well managed, all your needs are met. And yeah, this is so important to really run your life because I look, let's say, at my situation, just going like today is my day when I go to shopping, and then I go in the morning, just buy all of the stuff for Divine Dish because I have Divine Dish. I have all the things listed. It's much easier now because I just have all the things that I need to buy, and I just go buy them, and then just come home and I have food for 1 week, and I don't need to go out anymore. I don't have to do anything else there. So it's actually like helped me a lot to like to know how to manage things better with the coronavirus. It didn't change much my lifestyle because I realized after Corona that my lifestyle was a bit was in
Yeah.
solitude. I was already in solitude even before, and I was not realizing that. But now it's more obvious that this is what it is.
I realized that too, and I think a lot of people, who have been doing this work for quite some time. I remember someone shared this meme, this like funny meme that just like said like when you realize that your normal lifestyle is quarantine. And I was like, damn, that's so me, but like
But in the same time, it's a deeper truth here of like us really getting to know each other, and we need this time, we need this space to find ourselves, and that's what they were speaking about in the service sermon, is that this time with yourself really helps you to just find yourself. But if you're not using it in that way that we like in the community are using it, you're just gonna like you it won't help you, because if you don't heal your upsets while you are in this space of solitude, it will only like just feed even more those upsets and be more and more, and it will feel worse and worse. And that's when they said that like it will affect your mind if you stay in solitude but you don't have this understanding or have this purpose to really go deeper with yourself.
just a quick fun fact. I was talking with my mom yesterday, and there's actually statistics that in Germany, the number of divorces has increased by a lot since the start of the coronavirus. She shared that with me. I was like, oh my God, this is so funny. But like, I mean, yeah, So yeah, just a fun fact on the side. Please continue.
I was not expecting this.
Yeah, me neither. I thought like, I mean, obviously people would be faced with like, their upsets and how they really feel about their partner. So, but like, it was fast. Like, if there's already a change, like, yeah, increase of number in divorces. Yeah, purging of this is the great purging, the area of the purging of hairbrushes.
Yeah, like exactly like how Jeff said that this itself, this whole situation is a deep healing and it's not a vacation.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, it is. And it's really a very big healing, as I said, about rest, because the world has been just like work, and not really resting, not really having that rest that they need. And because of that, now a lot of people just pay that price in not having what to do in order, they need to rest. They're closed in their homes in order to rest. And that's a really interesting perspective to see that when you unbalance the balance will always come to you. You cannot control the balance of the world. The balance of the world will come in a way or another. Your life will shift in that way to bring you that balance if you want or don't want.
Mhm. But yeah, like the first, kind of going back to the first tip that, you shared from the sermon about, like, so keeping your life running and taking care of your home and all of that. Like that's like something that I found also, I mean, obviously since my lifestyle has been quarantined for like probably 2 years or so now, it's like that's something I found really important because, since you spend a lot of time in your home, you really have to make it this like high vibe space. Like I noticed when I have like, because obviously it sometimes happens that like my room ends up being a bit of a mess. And then I always notice how that really impacts me like internally, because, obviously what we have internally is also, being reflected on the outside. So I also notice how, like, when I'm going through a lot of abscess and stuff, that sometimes tends to be reflected in what my room looks like. And in the moment I hear through that like big block or these like chunks of blocks, it's like I just end up cleaning everything and my room starts looking like crazily cleaned and high vibe and everything. But that's something that like lately I've really been, working on keeping, like always like maintaining it at that high vibe level and not letting it drop to messiness at any point. Because that's also, better supporting me even, especially when I'm going through like big upsets, to, have an environment that is very supportive in, in helping me to heal, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, take care of your life. Isolation doesn't mean that you like you abandon your physical life and retreat into your inner temple and don't eat and sleep and do normal physical activities anymore. Like it means finding a balance between the internal and external and being with God always on the inside and on the outside too.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
This kind of goes into the second one already, like with
Yeah.
spend time alone.
Mm-hmm.
And, seems like Revati wants to say more of that.
Yes. I That's a point that I realized that I was not getting, because when they mentioned that even if you're on social media, it doesn't mean that you're in solitude. So just because being alone physically does not mean you're being present with yourself, or you're being um, just spending time with yourself. So that was a thing that I had to learn also, that even if I was checking my Instagram or checking Facebook, that this would go on. Like Shreya talked about it as a habit, and that was actually something which was eating into my quality time that needs to be spent with myself. Um, and that 1 minute that we all took in that in the sermon, it felt like there was so many things that you got to listen from within, like happening inside us as well as like outside. And after the 1 minute ended, Jeff said something. He said um, a lot was happening, and just that one sentence made me feel like um, there is a lot to be observed, there's a lot to be felt, and there's so much to be experienced just by being present with yourself, like truly, and not, mm, yeah, no interruptions, no any other external thing coming in between. And so, like, something I saw when Lisi was speaking, and when the geese were interrupting in between, and then it became an upset, and she was having difficulty in recording. And this is something that happens a lot during when I record my meditations. So when I finish writing it, I I am in such a good space after writing it. And then after writing it, when I go on to record it, I know that these big upsets of somebody being very loud in my neighborhood, or dogs barking, and just it's very noisy, and then I have to take a lot of time and space to feel all of my feelings. There's usually like a lot of anger. So when I give myself that much time to feel all these feelings, it's like I'm purifying myself, uh, and like being able to provide God more clarity, like more clearly, and um, and like Jeff says that don't skip out on feeling your feelings. So in that space of spending time with yourself, it makes me realize that I do need to actually stop, and no matter how long it takes for me, I will feel all of my feelings, and then go on to record the meditation. So it's like that's so important. And the moment I spend that few minutes is when I realized so many things underneath were waiting for me to be experienced. So many things that I was just pushing aside. So one of the ways I was doing this is um, recording late in the night, which is like 3 a.m., so that I avoid all the noise. And at 3 a.m., when it's really quiet, I get to get my time. But in fact, I was just avoiding all the upsets that were actually sitting. So now I get to sleep properly. And I also made the time of recording like 12 a.m. or something much more doable. But that's the time when all these things are gonna show up. So it's like, yeah, uh, it's so important to spend that time with yourself. So much happens, like so much purification happens.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, and like just allowing the feelings to flow just opens up so much more and allows you to just have all the feelings in place in a way. And how they said in the sermon, if you just hold up to all those feelings, at some point they have to come out. They have to just come out. You cannot have them forever. So again, the balance comes in place, and seeing that God is really in control here, has the power of everything. And even if you don't want to heal, God will make a way for you to heal, even if you don't like it. But that will happen.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, one thing that, I really realized with the second point, was the second point just like be with yourself?
Spend time alone.
Oh, spend time alone. Because, like I realized, and also, like talking about this, like being with yourself, I realized like just because you're physically alone doesn't actually mean you're spending time with yourself, which sometimes may seem like a bit like controversial, but like it's, if you're like you can be physically alone, but if you're still like avoiding feeling yourself, your feelings, and being present with yourself, you're actually still not really spending time with yourself. You're just kind of like, I mean, yeah, physically alone, but still doing all these like social things or whatever things kind of, and still like avoiding yourself in some way. And that's like for me something where I really went deeper, where I realized like, because I think like from that 1 minute that we did in like the sermon, and we were just like sitting and really being present with ourselves, I realized how in many activities I would kind of do this external thing and lose that connection with myself. And that's something that I'm also working on, to like, no matter what I do, stay present with myself and stay connected to myself and stay with myself and never leave that place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's the flow. That's the third point, being very present with the flow.
Mm-hmm.
And we already spoke a lot about it, just with the heaviness. When you feel the heaviness, just change the activity. And I really enjoy as well when Shelia said about when she feels that heaviness is very much, it's like it's quite heavy, it's that gets to a point that it's very heavy, she just goes on a walk with Jeff. That's the point, when they come together and just do something and just have a walk, really allow all those things to process. And it's really interesting to see how it evolves, and how to do these things in a very physical way, what to do, and how to understand this process of really going with the flow.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think with that we can move on to the third point. I
That
haven't
we
written
spoke
down.
with it about the third point
Oh,
already.
what was the
Being
third?
very present with the
That's
flow.
what's it.
Oh, okay, that was already the third point. Okay, I thought that was just part of the, you just said that as part of the second. Okay, then maybe let's move on to the fourth one.
Yeah. Being aware of the larger purpose.
Mm,
Like, I know, like, there's a big purpose. Like, every moment, me and Alexandra are doing something, are like really growing into, even if we're staying all day home. Like, it's not like, oh, we're just sitting around. It's actually, I said, you're working through something. You're really like having a bigger purpose for what you're doing. You're really growing, like healing all of this, growing your vibration, just being with yourself and just feeling all those nice feelings, good feelings, raise your vibration to give more. And at the last point, then said about how Shelia said that she's working on really having all that creative flow all the time. She's very close to just have that, and that's really amazing to just want to have that flow and be that stable mentally, emotionally, be that strong. As Shelia is growing that strong, and she's really leading us into really showing us how to be alive all the time in every moment, and how to bring that life that we really desire in every moment in our life, and not never leave that.
mhm.
Yeah, I love the part where you said that it's alive. Like they said that even this isolation is not passive state. It's very active. They're extremely highly active throughout. And they gave the example of Charlie being so present with himself, and he's just like alive and yeah, experiencing everything. Yeah, it made me feel happy. Like there's happiness in that moment where it's like, yeah, you get it, it's cheerful, and it's a cheerful experience to be in isolation. It's not this boring, like dull thing. But yeah, it's always so nice to hear Shalia speak about this. It's like the perfect role model to be so alive and yet be so within, like so internal. And she's just enjoying herself in that moment. Yeah, feels very good, vibrant.
Mm. And the last point, if I remember correctly, is to just have fun with it.
Yes, that's it.
I remember that one. Yeah. I mean, I think that kind of like, says it, just like it's like enjoy yourself.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be boring. It doesn't have to be bothersome that you're staying in home, and you don't have to. You cannot go outside and go to parties and stuff. How how Shelia was presenting this about when she was younger, just going to parties and just thinking that she had to be social in order to be alive, to just be part of the world. But she doesn't really have to do that. She's even more alive now, just being in solitude with herself, with God. That's so nice that you can have so much fun with God that you can never stop that fun with God. And that's really relieving, knowing that you don't need to do these things that they show on TV, or these things that everyone is saying that it's fun, or play that game because everyone is saying that that game is nice, or like do these activities because everyone is saying, hey, these activities are so fun. You don't have to do that. You have to do just what God calls you to do, like how God wants you to have fun with you. How is your fun gonna be manifested in your reality? And that's really nice, knowing that you're always gonna have fun if you just follow God. If you're just with God, fun is not gonna be a problem at any point.
Yeah, just do you.
That's so
Yeah.
good. Mm.
I feel very complete here. I don't know about you. Is there
Mm.
anything else that comes to mind that let's tune in for a sec.
another solitude minute. Yeah. I feel like I have something. Like what stand out for me at the end of the sermon is that solitude changes you. It changes the way you are, the way you feel, because it allows you to feel your feelings and just change, to shift, to be more open, and not to be charged up with all these negative feelings. If you're just going through your upsets and loving yourself there, and if you allow those things to flow, but even just allowing feelings to flow, that's very healing. That helps you to really feel much better. And in when you get to this point that how Shelia says that you don't need anything from anyone else, you're basically in solitude, but you don't need anything. Like you don't need that person to do something, or you don't need something from outside to make you happy. You just have everything in that moment. Therefore, the flow is very easy because it's never going to be dependent on something external. The flow is always from within. And that's very relieving knowing that your flow cannot be stopped. No one else can affect your flow. No one can stop you from being in the flow.
Amen.
Wow, so beautiful. Yeah.
Now I feel complete.
Okay. I feel
But
like, yeah, for me, nothing else is coming up. How do you feel
Just
about it?
yeah, for me it's been coming for quite some time, ever since sermon started, and feels like if you see when Shalia talks during the sermon, and if you just look at Jeff, and I really feel like Jeff's just loving you in that moment, like he's just looking at you and he's just loving you, and it's just that's so powerful. So like when like what Lorenzo said, it's like it changes you. That was very powerful. Like such a it seems like it's so small, but it's not, and it's so like life changing. Um, so yeah, like I feel that when when I when I watch Jeff just looking at us and just loving us, that's like the power of his presence, like his love being present. Uh, yeah, that always is so like, moving. Yeah.
I feel the same way. It's like, presence is such a, yeah, like we might think, like yeah, it's like not a small thing. It's like it's everything. And while you were talking, I just like thought like the 2 times where in my life that, or like periods of time that I was like physically in Jeff and Chia's presence, and it was like kind of feeling like I'm in a different dimension. Like it's literally like the presence like literally like changes the entire like reaches like everyone, and just start feeling different. And it's just like crazy how much like our vibration, our presence impacts other people around us and this world around us, and how powerful like a presence of love is, or the presence of love. Yeah, juicy.
Amen.
Yeah. Oh, that feels like a very yeah, just juicy, nice closing theme. The power of the presence of love. But yeah, with that, I'm just going to check if we have. Yeah, Lisi was just saying that she feels that too, and says thanks, Revati. So yeah, with that being said, thank you everyone very much for watching, and we will be back next Monday discussing obviously the next week's Sunday service, or this week's Sunday service, which I'm already looking forward to. I start really looking forward to these. Oh my God, I have to wait another 6 days until the next Sunday service. But yeah, you know, patience. Time is not real. Patience is a good virtue. So yeah, everyone have a wonderful day and see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.